play with toys your whole life. Just telling a couple of people here that, my life started young. My father had a 65 Hypo Mustang convertible, and that kind of started it. I still have the 69 Cobra Jet Mach 1 I bought in high school with money I made mowing lawns. And, went out, got a business degree, started doing the regular business stuff, moved to Las Vegas, met the guys that started Shelby out here, and, helped with, people say, well, how do you do this? Well, you know what? It's no different than any of you. I started out, I volunteered for things. I did whatever it took to get the job done. I worked above and beyond what it took to get the job done. And met the guy that was going to be president of Shelby. And through that, I worked my ass off and, became the go-to person at my job. And now I lead the team of people that's here. Okay? So thank you. But I'm honored to do that, not only for that and the brand, but because of, Carol always said, and I worked for Carol for 16 years before he passed away. So I knew Carol well. And what I can tell you is the legacy of Carol Shelby continues because of all the people that work here. Okay, it's not just the guy that happens to have the corner office. It's all of you. People wonder how this is going to keep going. It's because of people like you that love these cars and so forth. And you start out because of the cars, end up keep going with this kind of thing because of the people. Okay. So where you see a lot of Optima shirts starting to come in, the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Challenge, all those guys are going to be here at 5:30. So we're going to have to be fairly quick and get you guys going so I can bring a whole new group of people in. But I helped them start that event years ago. I was involved in the open road race thing. So if anybody's interested in that, for those of you that might be a little younger, I know the guy that started the Millennial Mustang registry. It's free. Okay, so it's not a money grab. Okay, but it's for people that are typically about 35 and less. So, all those kind of things are out there. So if you need something, happy to give you a business card and so forth. We're going to take a quick lap of the shop so we can do that kind of quickly and get you guys going. Normally, this thing would be a lot different, and I'm sure you guys have all been in that part of the museum, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm assuming, right? Yeah. So we don't have to do that. All these cars here would typically be in there. Okay, so with that, we're going to need you to stay kind of close to me and not venture away, but we're going to take you behind the scenes. Yeah, you can go through that way. Just don't trip. So, excuse me. One of the things I kind of want to get across to you guys too is, Shelby today is a lot like Shelby in the 60s, and the good old days are today. Okay, we celebrate the old cars and the new cars. We're even building continuation older cars like that 65 sitting there. So that was actually at the SEMA show in the Champion Oil booth, and I drove it back here. So that's kind of cool too. The more modern cars, though, are the GT350s that are currently built, and the new GT500 is built under license from Shelby to Ford Motor Company. Okay, and they're built in Flat Rock, Michigan. Okay, if you want a Super Snake or a Shelby GT or something like that, we have those in dealerships, and those are from a pool vehicle allocation, and then we bring them here. We do the modifications here. We also do trucks, and believe it or not, 6-7 years ago, we did no trucks. Today, 75% of what we do. It's amazing. If you look here right now, you say, well, this is a really odd, eclectic group of cars. You see old ones, you see brand new ones. This is 2020, okay? And it's being modified. Normally, this whole shop would be 95% brand new vehicles. But we're right between the model years right now, between 19 and 20. So we bring some older cars in, or different model cars, just to kind of change it up a little bit. It also keeps cash moving when things are slow, right? And then the new wave of 20s are starting to come in, like this one. And so that's what we built. We also do a whole lot more than just stickers and scoops. So if you look at this car, we didn't just take the stock hood and put a scoop on it. mean, there's a lot of stuff to it. So we've designed our own hood. We've got our own front fascia, our own grill. When you look at a Shelby from 50 feet away, you go, that's a Shelby. And there's no question what you're looking at, okay? And because everybody and their mother has tuner Mustangs. You see wide bodies and stuff like that. We'll actually see some of those cars here on this tour. We designed that here, and we manufacture it here, we install it here, okay? So things like that, we're not just buying, other stuff. So we did a lot of testing and development. I did a lot of the test and development driving for the program when I was a little younger. I still do it today, by the way, so that's good.
Nice.
So when they want to know how fast it is or so forth, I get to do it. Something I always wanted to do, right?
Must be nice.
Yeah. What do you want to do when you grow up? I never got to grow up. So anyway, you can see there's a lot more than stickers and scoops. So this one has a little blower on it. We don't have the top hat on it yet, so we'll leave it covered up. But this car will end up being 825 horses, emissions legal on pump gas.
That's it?
Oh, okay. So how much horsepower you got?
Zero.
So we got a little more than you. I'll tell you how long we've been in the horsepower game. We'll go back here. Be very careful. Please do not bump the hoods off of the stands. We'll go back here to this little black car. 12 years ago, we did this car. So
Yeah, that's crazy what you guys have done with these cars.
So we brought it back in here because we got a little bit slower and we're right between the model year change and so forth. Again, watch the hood, watch your step. Okay, so this car, we're going to be quick because I got to keep going. In 2006, I was part of the product plan with Carroll Shelby, and one of the things that he wanted was 1,000 horsepower Shelby Mustang. Okay, so we embarked on what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, and in 2007, at the end of the year, I ordered fringe benefits, a 2008 GT500, which is this car. Okay, bought it brand new, and first brand new car I'd ever owned, because I didn't have the money for that before, right? So there is hope, folks. And I had a contract to buy out the first Super Snake we ever did in 2007 to continue the program, and you'll see that car here too. But anyway, I didn't own it yet because that wasn't part of my deal yet, okay? So back then you couldn't really make that kind of power with twin screw supercharging, so you had to do something a little different. We never put this car into production. It made the power easily, but it was too expensive and too complex to do it. So this does not look like anything you're normally seeing under the hood. That's what we did 12 years ago.
What?
It's over 1,200 rear wheel horsepower.
Nice.
I would have never imagined to see Code Red in person.
This is Code Red. There's one. What's that? Well, we're going to have a little work done on it, so I can go out and play some.
Yay.
Yeah, so it's got a Shelby serial number and everything. Shelby Code Red. And yeah, you can Google that up on the internet and everything. It's out there. It was featured at SEMA in 2010. So you never know what you might see.
Yep, I think it dreams.
Sometimes dreams come true.
That's right.
That's incredible.
So yeah, at 186 miles, I took it home, took the kids. We all, took it for a spin. My parents were there. I pulled the windows out, I pulled the motor out, and we went to work. But anyway, so pretty crazy. We got to keep going.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can see roll cage. So somebody knows what it is. Okay, so you guys got to kind of stay with me and please watch again the hoods. You don't want to lose any of that.
If you guys need a loaner car to do something on, you let me know. I'll bring mine in. That's cool.
Yeah,
You know, do test fits for something.
So we did a couple of these Don Perdome editions too. So obviously a straight line focused car. I don't know how many of you were at SEMA and saw the Dragon Snake on the new GT500. So that'll also be kind of a straight line focused program that we're going to do. In fact, that car's around here somewhere. We just brought it out. So we'll keep going. In the interest of time, this is the first the Super Snakes we did in 07. So that's now my car.
I want this one. I'll
This
drive
one?
this one home, yeah.
That's mine too.
Beautiful car.
This is one with the wide body 350. So we still use a lot of the older stuff too. So we do the 4GTs, but you have to sell them without the engines in them. This has an engine. But we do polished aluminum. So these are some of the polished aluminum. We got Daytona Coupes, 427 Cobras, stuff like that. So
How much difference is in the wide body between the GT350 and the Super Snake?
the wide body is the same.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The only thing is the 350, we keep the stock front fenders on it because it's already wider.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is a cool car here too. This is actually, I wish we had more time for all these. This is the first running pre-production prototype of the 05, 06 Ford GT cars. Okay, so if you look real carefully, it's got like an 03 Mustang Terminator dash pod in it. It's got an 03 Terminator engine in it instead of the 5.4 that ended up in the car. It's a very rude, crude dude, but it was used primarily for suspension and development and so forth. So Carroll was a senior tech advisor. That's how he ended up with this particular car. I can tell you it drives pretty cool. It's fun on the track. It leaks water like hell when it rains.
Gary, do you have any comment about the Ford versus Ferrari movie coming out? Any thoughts?
The Ford versus Ferrari movie, yes. So, it's a great movie. You guys need to think about it this way. It's unlike most Hollywood things today, it's true. The major storyline is true. Every little bit, if you dissect it, is not true. Okay, so some of it is enhanced for Hollywood, okay? Dramatization and so forth. So if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. Well, you probably haven't, because unless you saw a preview, you couldn't. So there's really good stuff out there. I think it's a great movie. It really talks about the story and the passion and stuff behind people that were in key spots at a key period of time. It talks about, really the key players are obviously Henry Ford II, Enzo Ferrari, Carroll Shelby, Ken Miles, the big personalities, and kind of a David and Goliath thing. It's also kind of a, America versus Europe kind of thing, where Ferrari totally dominated racing for years. And I don't know if you know the story, but, Ford Motor Company, Enzo was pretty much broke. And he was considering selling the company because he couldn't fund it on his own anymore. Carroll was broke. Okay? So, and Carroll was a dying man. 1960, they told him, you might have 5 years to live, you got to quit racing. Do you give up? No. He lived to 2012, 52 more years instead of 5. But he lived his life chips all in. Okay? The other thing you guys need to think about, when you talk to Carroll Shelby, and Carroll and I were good friends as well as, the business thing, Carroll not only never gave up, he was never done. We had a lot of significant cars in the collection, and Carroll was the only man in history to win championships as a driver, as a manufacturer, and as a team leader. He was the team leader that won at Le Mans 1966, took Ferrari off the podium. In 65, he won the World Manufacturers Championship in the GT class with the Daytona Coupe. Okay? That's why Henry Ford went to Carroll Shelby when he wanted to win.
That's right.
Okay? So that is really what went on there. And it's really, there's some cool stuff in the movie because I can see Carroll going to Henry's office and saying and doing some of the things that's portrayed in the movie because I got to know him well. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much, but you guys will enjoy the movie. And I think it really tells the story and so forth to a whole new generation of people that weren't around or were too young when that happened, because you're starting to get to a point where, I didn't remember that crap as a kid, right? And some of you weren't even kids then. So anyway, with that, we'll keep going. So cool stuff, but the rest of this will be a little quicker. By the way, how many have heard this when we used to ask Carroll Shelby, when we'd be in the museum and we'd say, okay, you got all these really cool cars, and somebody asked me earlier what my favorite was.
Oh yeah, that was me.
His was always the next one. And when you think about it, guys, that's the right answer. Because if it's something you always had in the past, You're living in the past. It's like looking in the rearview mirror and trying to drive your car. Look out the windshield. That's where your future is. Okay, you're seeing some stuff that was at SEMA. This was at SEMA. It was, sitting in the Ford booth. This is the Dragon Snake, so it's based on a new GT500. How many have driven a new GT500?
Sorry? Just a matter of time.
How many have you driven one?
Just
You
answer
guys
no.
said?
No.
They're a lot of fun.
I mean, if you would let me, I'd do it now.
What's that? You'll like this car. Anybody, how many like stick shift transmission? Okay? Me too. Every single performance car I've ever owned is a manual. I don't like automatics. It's just a thing for me, right? I got to tell you, that is a game changer. It is not an automatic. It's a dual clutch transmission. I could sit here and give you a half-hour speech on it. It is fabulous. It shifts in 80 milliseconds. Nobody's that fast. And it predetermines the next gear. It knows what you're going to do. The computer's great. That, my folks, is a future for these cars. So you're seeing some cool stuff here. Seeing some wide bodies, like the Shelby 1000 back there's got a wide body. There's an older wide body here. This was featured at SEMA. 19 Super Snake. That was at SEMA, right out front. Shelby GT heritage car.
So once you guys are done with these cars, do you guys sell them at auction, or what happens to them?
So these cars, most of these will go to a dealer, or they're privately owned already. So the older cars that are here are privately owned. And the new cars will end up going to a dealer, very selected dealers. Yeah, unfortunately, we got to keep going. Because I got the next group.
Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem at all.
This is awesome.
What's that? Yeah, there's probably, this is a garage, so there are things that leak occasionally, right? Or maybe somebody drives their old Harley in here and, if it's got oil in it, it's going to leak. Or an FE big block Ford, like my 69. They all do. Good old days are today.
How is it all in for every year? Have you managed it to where it's
Well, right now it's all in everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I can manage it with a button that basically gives me low boost, and then I can flip it and go to higher boost. I can also change it so that I can get my laptop and make it hot.
That's cool.
I just don't want to. I think where it's at now is probably
Garage goals.
last time I took my wife for a spin. I took my wife for a spin in that turbo car a couple weeks ago, and she hadn't really ridden in one like that, driven the Super Snake and so forth, and so I get it up to a little over 100, and push the gas down to the floor in fourth gear. It's got some turbo lag and stuff, and when that thing came up and it took off, she's like, my ears popped, my ears popped. Because it goes from 4 to 7,000 just like boom in fourth gear, and it's got a pretty tall gear, so it gives you 150 like instant. It's silly. So come on out this way and don't trip over that. Sorry for the real
I wonder if
quick
she
tour,
still
but-
critiques his driving.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
I want to hug you, but I think I'm.
Yeah, seriously. Just live on ex-
Good. Well, maybe it'll help change their life like it did mine.
That'd be awesome.
Right? Somebody did that for me.
Thank you.
That's what I want